Hi, I am Hummy from Hummy's World, and this is my layout for the next Speed Scrap Challenge. And for those that are still learning more of the techniques, I wanted to give you a little quick tip video helps for this Speed Scrap. Here at Hummy's World, we have they're called Speed Crop Chat Challenges, and you can go to hummysworld.com and then scroll down in the sidebar. Here's all the classes that are available. Click on the Speed Crop class and the introduction page comes up, and then you can click on Set 1 and you see here are the instructions for the first one and my layout, and you're welcome to go through and do them all. Click on this link here to go to the forum to share your layout. You have to upload it to Flickr, and then which is free for 1.5 terabyte, which is a lot of images. So we use that to post our layouts into the forum so we all can comment and share. This one I think is going to be for number 18. I don't have the instructions uploaded even though I have written them. You can see here. Yeah, the one I did yesterday has all the instructions, and so if you're having a little trouble with the instructions, there is my video, and that's what's going to be on number 18 when I finish this video. So if you want to see the instructions, please come to Hummy's World, and I would love to see what you do with the instructions and your final layout. But so here's my layout, and I've kind of copied the file and removed a lot of the stuff here so that we can go back and look at how I did some of the things. Here's the background paper, and here's the other paper that I used. And so how did I make this? It was simple enough. I simply I wanted this swirl here on my page, but you can choose any part of your kind of solid color. And I simply wanted to think about the rule of thirds because the rule of thirds works so well in so many ways. So I wanted to get about a third of my paper. I yawned. I hope it's not too contagious this morning. No matter what time of day you're watching this, don't catch my yawns. So I used the rectangular marquee tool and I drew a selection about a third of my paper. I make sure I am on my paper layer and hit Control J, and then I use the little invisible little eye to turn off the visibility of the original paper layer. And then I'm able to move this around wherever I want it. But the next set of instructions says to make some vertical cuts into this piece of paper. And so I'm going to, I think I had my paper over here. So I'm going to actually just get my marquee tool again, and now you can make big cuts, thin cuts, thick cuts, however you want. That's the beauty of these instructions. But for me, I wanted to make some thin cuts, so there's kind of a little bit of a border edge. And so I just made my selection, and I used my arrow keys to move it back and forth to wherever I want it. And I just make sure I'm on the correct layer and hit the delete key on the keyboard. And then I'm just simply using my left arrow on my keyboard to go over the same selection, to go over to get close to the other edge, and I hit delete and Control D for deselect, and then you would add your drop shadow. So that's how I made this, and you know, it doesn't have to be perfect, and you can add more than one. You can add one, you can add two, three, four. You can make them however big or small you want. That's how all these layouts are going to be different when we begin sharing them in the forum. And now I want to show you another instruction. I'm going to put this photo back. It's actually of my husband peeking through. He's standing in this box in the art museum, and it's reflecting all the way through. But the instructions say, I'd have to go back and read them, but something about making a shape with the middle cut out, which is this shape that I made. And I want to show you how I made my shape. This is actually a template, and this is actually a template, but I'm going to show you how I did that. Now, I could have used a shape tool, but I simply, let's see, created a new layer and used the elliptical marquee tool. And for my case, I did not want to hold down my, I think it's the shift key or the caps key to make it a circle. I wanted a random shape, so I didn't hold down any of my keyboard, and I wanted it to be a little bit larger than my photo. So here's my circle, kind of goes down below, so I kind of goofed it up a little bit. So I'm using my arrow key to raise up that selection, and then I'm going to simply hit either Control Backspace or Alt Backspace. One gives you the foreground color, one gives you the background color. Control D to deselect. Now I didn't quite get that the same kind of shape that I had the other one. So you can go ahead and use whatever tools you want. I'm going to hold down the Control key to kind of stretch this because I want it to kind of go a circle around my photo and make it whatever shape you want. And now I went ahead and I still have this paper layer here, and so I made that layer active. Hold down my Control key, click on the thumbnail of this template I made, and hit Control J. And now I'm going to make my template invisible, and you see I'm going to make my photo invisible. And let's get this out of there. This makes it easier to see. I've just made layers invisible to get down to the basics. So here is my shape that I created out of my paper. And so the next step is to knock out the center. And so I went and held down my Control key and clicked on the thumbnail of this layer to get the marching ants around my shape. Then I went to Select, Modify, and I am in the full version of Photoshop, but I have tutorials on my site of this in in other lessons. These are all repeat skills that are in other lessons, so you just have to know the interface of your program and find the same tools in your program. I'm not using anything that's not in Photoshop Elements. So I've got Modify and Contract, and I actually used 50. You can use whatever number you want. The larger it is, the more it's going to contract, and the wider your border is going to be. And then I'm going to actually create a new layer and do the same thing, Alt Backspace or Shift Backspace, and I filled that new layer, Control D, and now where's my photo layer? Now I wanted to make sure my photo showed through, and I forgot how I did this exactly, but I'm going to reshape my template. Hold down my Control key and imagine what it's going to look like when it's knocked out. And I think I wanted this edge to be thicker than this edge up here. and however you want to do it. And then then let's make that invisible. So I'm going to go back to my original layer here, and I'm going, even though this is invisible, you can still hold down your control key and click on the thumbnail to get the marching ants of this shape, and then make sure you are on your original circle layer and hit, well, actually you could hit delete and do like that, but that's not how I did it. So I'm going to undo. And I'm actually on my original layer, and what I did was I hit my add layer mask, and you can see it added my border area is gone and all I see is the center. So what I did was clicked on the mask layer itself and clicked Control I for invert, and it inverted. Now it's white on the outside and black to hide the center. And that is simply how I made my shape to go around my photo. You can see how I made it here. And I made it thicker on this edge than that edge. And I actually like this one better than this one, so you make things different every time. Now there's a step for making the dots around your image. You can see mine are pretty cool. They have texture on it. That was purely accidental because I simply went to my brush tool and chose a brush which I thought was just a simple round brush, but it was not. It had that fun texture in it. And here's my brush tool options that I have in the full version. You can see the texture here. And I just simply went down here to the spacing, and I moved the spacing out for my brush until they were far apart. And this brush actually happens to already have a fairly low opacity to it. I got a color from, let's see, let's put this back. And let's put this above that. Well, actually, let's go ahead and use this. This is mine from the other one. And you can see I actually took the paper and hit Control U, and I just slid the saturation all the way down, and that took out the color and made it gray. That's how I got that gray. But I simply got a color from the background for my foreground color. I'm going to go back to my brush because I wanted to use one color for on top of this paper from the background, and I'm going to create a new layer, and I simply drew with my brush onto this layer, and I don't like that. You got to have a kind of a steady hand. Oops. There, I did a better job with that. And then I simply got a I cannot, because I have my, here it is, my foreground and background color. I can't get to them because I have my screen small for recording purposes. And so I'm going to go ahead and use this and get one of the light colors out of here for my foreground color, and I drew that around for the outside edge. And I liked that it was a brush that had a lower opacity to it. If yours doesn't, and you can remember, you can use blending modes. You can go ahead and lower your opacity. Actually, I don't like the color I chose. Whoops. Let's get the rectangular marquee tool for these dots. So I'm going to make a selection around them. Click Control U, and I'm going to lighten it up. brighten it up. There. Now I can see them a little better. So that is how I did the special tips that are in this layout, and I can't wait to see what you do following the instructions. Yours can be totally different. Your shape doesn't need to be an oval. It can be any shape. And you know, it's so fun to see what everybody does when they use the same instructions and the layouts turn totally different. So I will see you around the forum, and I appreciate you watching and liking my videos.